Welcome everyone back to the Red Raider Report. Adam Zuvanich joins me now. Adam, this week Texas Tech takes on an SMU team 1-1 on the season. They get their first win in a long time, 11 games under new head coach June Jones. What do the Ponies bring to Lubbock?
Well, they bring a little bit of a new attitude with June Jones coming in. This is a school that had an 11-game losing streak before this past Saturday. 1-11 last year. So, really, they get the first win under their belts last week. They're probably feeling great about themselves. June Jones has come in and brought kind of a different attitude, obviously a new offense with his run and shoot. So I think things are looking up for SMU right now. They've still got a lot to work on. They've still got a long ways to go. The defense has left quite a bit to be desired so far. They've given up quite a bit of points to two teams that really aren't considered offensive powerhouses, such as Rice and Texas State. So the Ponies are going to have their hands full this weekend, but they're a team that I think is going to continue to improve as the season goes along.
Yeah, and the thing is, you hit right on the head with the point that they've had some serious defensive problems in those first two games. The totals here are pretty outlandish. 92 points and 931 yards surrendered defensively for SMU. You really have a hard time thinking that they can do much against Texas Tech while their defense gives up that many points.
That's right. And if you look at the breakdown, they gave up 466 total yards in one of their games and 465 in the other game. A team like Rice, okay, maybe Rice can put up those kind of numbers. You wouldn't expect the Texas State Bobcats to do that, especially being a Division I 2A team.
Right.
So, they definitely have a lot to work on. At the same time, we thought going into the Nevada game last week that Texas Tech would have an easy time with the Nevada defense, with their young secondary. And sure enough, Graham Harrell has one of his worst games of his career in terms of completion percentage. The Raiders score 35 points, which is a lot for most teams, but for Texas Tech, that's nothing.
Not anywhere near what their averages are. And you talk about SMU's offense, they've kind of had a decent surprise, where Willis was downgraded to the third string quarterback, and they go with Bo Levi Mitchell, who you pointed out was originally a Hawaii committee, and he's done a really nice job with SMU in taking that run and shoot offense and putting up some pretty good numbers.
He really has, and let's just refresh what you were saying there. Here's a guy who committed to Hawaii last December to play for June Jones. June Jones leaves the Aloha State, goes to the Hilltop in Dallas, and Bo Levi Mitchell comes with him. So this is obviously a guy that June Jones has handpicked, he's had his eye on, he feels comfortable with. The biggest thing that stands out to me about Bo Levi Mitchell, well, first of all, he was a state championship quarterback in high school. He led Katy High School to the Class 5A state title last year. Secondly, first game against Rice, he comes out, throws 3 interceptions, fumbles the ball twice, loses one of them. 4 turnovers in his college debut. Last week against Texas State, 0 turnovers. So, and granted, there's a big difference between the defenses there, but this kid's learning on the fly. He's already thrown for 8 touchdowns. He's putting up good passing numbers. And like the rest of the team, as a freshman, he's only going to get better.
Right, and he was very efficient last week in that win over Texas State. And one of the reasons that he's so good is they have 2 really athletic receivers in Emmanuel Sanders and Aldrick Robinson, who have 5 touchdowns each already 2 games into the season. 2 pretty good athletes makes you a little bit better at the quarterback.
That's right, it sure does. They've definitely helped him out a lot. Both those receivers have good speed. Sanders is probably the bigger of the 2.
Right.
Robinson's more of the burner. Both of them line up on the left side typically. If you look at their numbers so far this year, they're almost identical. I believe each has 4 touchdown receptions. They both have about 300 yards or so.
Right.
They both last week they both had 8 catches. One had 172 yards, the other had 130 something.
Not a bad day at the ballpark.
These guys are a good tandem, and the best thing is they're only a sophomore and a junior.
Right. And actually I think Sanders had a pretty good quote after the Texas State win. He said, "It's going to be scary when we get better." Kind of funny in one way because they know where they stand, but on the other hand, probably need to be taken a little bit more serious because they are going to be better. It just maybe not this week against Texas Tech, but eventually June Jones is going to have that program turned around in Dallas.
That's right. And with talking to June Jones this week, he said, we're getting better. The guys are starting to understand and to believe in what we're doing, but it's still going to take time. It's still going to take a lot of work. But I think the Mustangs are starting to already see the dividends, and I think they have bought in. to what June Jones is bringing to them. So I think things are looking up for SMU, more so than they have in a long time.
Right, and I think the thing that would concern me the most if I was an SMU fan going into the Tech game, other than Tech's offense, is, their running game, they've been more shooting than running right now. They're having a problem on the ground. They haven't really had any productivity out of their running backs, and that's really going to give Texas Tech's secondary a chance to concentrate on getting better, because they're going to chuck the ball around a lot.
It will, but Texas Tech is the same way. Texas Tech, they hardly ever run the ball. I mean, they can be productive in the run game. I think Texas Tech is probably better equipped to run the ball just because they have the athletes in place. But June Jones is not ever going to stress running the ball. They're not going to become a team that's going to churn out 200 yards a game. They're going to throw it around first, second, and third. So I don't know if that'll really have too much of an impact. If anything, it could be a really long game. There'll be a lot of incomplete passes.
And national TV doesn't help it. We're going to be at the ballpark probably till midnight on Saturday.
It'll be a long but fun night, hopefully.
And like we said, Texas Tech's offense seems really powerful. How ugly do you see this game getting Saturday?
Well, I think Texas Tech, they've played two relatively close games so far. Probably not that they've won. They're back at home this week. I look for Texas Tech to come out fast. They're obviously going to score a lot of points against SMU's defense. I think SMU will do some good things on offense as well, but they haven't seen the athleticism on defense that the Red Raiders are going to have. I look for Texas Tech to get a big win, but I don't think it'll be as bad as it would have maybe if last year's SMU team would have come to Lubbock. I look for something maybe. I think Tech might score about 50, 60 points maybe. That's not too far of a stretch, but I think SMU will get 30 at least.
Definitely. All right, well, that's going to do it for our segment on SMU. Don Williams will join Adam and I right back, and we're going to discuss the Big 12 last week. Pretty decent week, 12-0, but we'll be right back, talk about the Big 12 Conference and preview this week's matchups.